Carmen Sandiego, The Secret of the Stolen Drums, a game developed by BAM Entertainment and Behaviour Interactive, and released back in March of 2004. So hey, the game will be 20 years old by the time this video goes live. Happy birthday! While BAM Entertainment did not do too much after 2005, Behaviour Interactive went on to create many more games and is best known for creating the hit game Dead by Daylight, a game still receiving regular updates to this day. During this review, I'll just be calling the game Carmen Sandiego as the full name is way too long. I played the entire game on my channel with one question in mind. Did my nostalgia goggles make me think this game was good? Or is it actually good? And today, I am here to give you the answer. In my mind, Carmen Sandiego was this really cool platformer where you had to sneak up on robots and climb your way around maps. The maps were huge and the combat with the staff was super cool and had this great inspiration from martial arts. I also remember some sort of upgrade system. There was just a lot of stuff going on. Now, let's see how those memories hold up. You start the game off with a small cutscene where it shows that Cole, your main character, is telling the story of his mission chasing down Carmen. This trend will continue for the whole game, and his story starts you off in New York. You learn the controls for the game, change the horrible camera control setup to feel a little bit more modern, and overall just get an introduction to the game systems. The game explains the systems well and forces you to confirm you know the mechanic before being able to move on. This is great game design, as this gives the developer permission to use this mechanic moving forward, and know for sure that the player is aware of the mechanic. The core movement mechanics in Carmen Sandiego revolve around basic platforming mechanics. So you have platforming from platform to platform by jumping, climbing across ledges, hanging from those ledges and climbing from them, hanging from your arms, using ropes to climb across gaps, so just basic platform mechanics that we all know. You also have basic combat abilities where you can whack your opponent with a stick, you can jump, and of course hit enemies in the air with a jump attack combination. This one, however, is fairly annoying to deal with. You can also vault using your staff, as this covers more horizontal space than a regular double jump, and can also knock down fences, allowing you to progress. Finally, you can fire a blow dart to distract enemies and shoot interactives that you cannot otherwise reach. Alright, speaking of enemies, let's talk a bit about combat. This game offers 3 types of combat that you will meet throughout the game. The most common and first introduced one is Carmen's legion of robots. Her robots patrol areas and are completely indestructible due to them having a force shield around them. They can also shoot us from a distance and alert other robots in the area. Fortunately for us, Carmen is nice and decided to put a weak spot on their back. So your job is to sneak around, hit them in the back and explode them. You will start off with single robots, but will soon have to keep in mind multiple robots and their line of vision. The game expands on this a bit further, using cameras that can spot you and birds that can give away your position. Fortunately for us, the robots have absolutely terrible AI. They lose track of you after a couple of seconds, and standing around a corner is sufficient to completely drop your aggro. You will, however, spend a good amount of time waiting for them to turn their backs to you, so you can smack them in the back. Oh, and you can also use your blow darts to point their attention elsewhere. A mechanic that I discovered way too late into this game. The next type of combat encounter is a regular enemy in the form of a spirit. There are earth spirits, water spirits, air spirits, and fire spirits, all looking to mess up your day. Depending on your progress throughout the game, you'll encounter new spirits and stronger versions of them. The version will be depicted with their color scheme changing. This will generally just make them a little bit tankier. These enemies had me quite frustrated at points because they respawn very easily if you decide to walk forward and then back. They seem to respawn based on entering their spawn area after having left their spawn area. It's quite annoying if you want to just go back and check something. The final combat encounters are bosses. These are large spirits and all have their own mechanic. They are very well designed, especially compared to the rest of the combat, and are definitely one of the highlights for me. Unfortunately, there are only 3 of them. During your adventure, you pick up ammunition refills for your blow dart, totems to upgrade your staff, health to, refill your own health, and collectibles to progress the game. These collectibles generally are quite easy, but some may require a little bit of puzzling to get done. Each of the 9 zones is divided into multiple areas, and the goal is to get all the major pickups. Each zone also has its own puzzle that is meant as an educational goal for kids, as the game was designed with kids in mind. The levels go through different countries and tell you something about the country you are in and the landmarks that you might encounter. It was quite fun, and I definitely heard some stuff that I didn't know myself. And while I'm playing a 20-year-old kids game, I definitely am not a kid anymore. The levels are varied, as you move from cities to jungles to underground areas and volcanoes. They look good for the time, and the game tries to keep things varied by using mechanics differently depending on the zone. Now that I have praised the game, let me also burn one area completely into the ground. So you know that song you have been listening to during this review? Well, that song loops endlessly. As you play through this game, the soundtrack will be drilled into your skull and it will not stop. Variety is not the spice of life when it comes to this game's music, apparently. It's not a terrible track, but the game could have done with some more variety. So, now that I have given you a lot of the facts, how do I actually feel about my experience? While the environment changes were nice and the educational part definitely showed, the game was severely lacking in mechanical progression. You pretty much got nothing in zones 2 through 9 that you did not already have in zone 1. You were fighting different colored robots, but they mechanically acted way too similar. The combat was fairly clunky and definitely not the most enjoyable part, and the camera was, well, you know how early to mid-2000s cameras were. They just do not cooperate in any way. While I had fun playing through the game, I definitely would have stopped playing halfway through if it were not for the fact that I was making a series out of it. At least I did have the, well, I don't know what country we go to next feeling to keep me somewhat enticed. This game was heavily carried by nostalgia goggles. I can see what the game was trying to do, but it just lacked a lot in the depth compartment. For the time, this was probably a pretty okay game, but it falls completely flat to modern eyes and does not hold up well in any regard. Now, since this is the first game I finished in this Nostalgia Goggle series, I am still fine-tuning how I rate these games. I don't just want to give them a score out of 10 and call it a day, because I don't think that adds much. So instead, I'll rate them relative to my perception of the game going in. With the options being 1. Nostalgia Goggles only, game is horrible. 2. Severe Nostalgia Goggles, okay game. 3. Better with Nostalgia Goggles, but still a pretty good game. 4. Actually, a great game, matches my Nostalgia Goggles. And 5, and this one is probably going to be very, very hard to achieve, wow, this game far surpassed my Nostalgia Goggles. So to round out this review, Carmen Sandiego will be gifted a score of 2 out of 5, which means severe Nostalgia Goggles, and it's an okay game. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see the full playthrough, the playlist will be available on my channel. I hope to see you for the next one, and I wish you all a great day.